Hi, my name is Ava Tintle, and I'm here on behalf of the LTV Community Intern Project. Today I'm here with Miss Sarah Anker, the New York State Senate Democratic nominee. Thank you so much for being here today.
That was my pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, of course. So I wanted to start by asking you about your background and accomplishments as Suffolk County Legislator and how that has impacted your run for New York State Senate.
Okay, so going back, I was born on a Navy base. My dad was in the military pretty much throughout his life, eventually joining the reserves. But he taught me how important it is to serve our country. And I really never imagined myself, when I was in high school, running for public office. And it wasn't until Marcia Lawfer, who was the former Brookhaven Town Democratic Committee leader, had asked me out of the blue. At that time, my children were very young, and I said, well, it's not really a good time, but I'll think about it. And so I have to really ask, your friends, please consider running for office. Take a leadership role. Yes, you do have to take risk. And you do have to take chances. And sometimes it's not, a pleasant experience, but it can be. I take my frustrations and my anger, and I try to create something positive. And I decided to run for office because I wanted more done in my community of Mount Sinai. I have 3 children. My children are 23. My daughter just got her degree in teaching, special education, elementary ed.
Wow.
So we have a teacher. Yeah. My son is 28. He just graduated from Fells in Philadelphia. That's University of Pennsylvania. And my daughter is 32. So I've been in office as a county legislator for almost 13 years. I'm a Democrat, but I've won a Republican district because I put people over politics. And that's our little slogan, but also finding common ground. So you have to find out, what do you have in common? Let's work on issues and then move forward from there.
Definitely.
Yeah,
that's a great approach.
Yes, I try. Yeah.
So what specifically has motivated your run for New York State Senate, and how does this campaign differ from your previous positions, such as Suffolk County Legislator?
So it's different because my old district had about, I want to say 80, actually no, it was 60,000 registered voters. This district, New York State Senate, covers all the way from Stony Brook, the entire north coast out to Orient Point. It covers Riverhead, Calverton, all the way out to Montauk. 237,000 registered voters. Wow. It is much bigger than my old legislative district. But I feel that I've accumulated so much experience and so much knowledge on what resources there are for folks, especially pertaining to government. But also, not-for-profits. There's issues with the opioid epidemic and addiction and mental health services. Our senior citizens, they need resources. And veterans, and I know where those resources are, and I want to take that experience and knowledge to the state. And also, I think it's important. As a Democrat, I will have a louder voice right now because there is a Republican incumbent, and the New York State Senate is 41 of the state senators are Democrat out of the 63 that are there in the Senate. And so we have a very strong majority. And I've experienced that as a legislator. If you're in the majority, you get a lot more done.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
So kind of bouncing off of that, what differentiates you from your opponent, the current incumbent, Anthony Palumbo?
So, again, he has the minority, which again, it doesn't give you as loud of a voice with funding, with infrastructure. When's the last time you drove down state roads to get to where you're going and saw the terrible work that's not being done on the roads. Potholes.
Yeah.
In fact, potholes, that was my number one issue over the 13 years as a county legislator. People would call up and say, you have to fix this pothole. And it's really, it's very dangerous, especially for young drivers, for folks on motorcycles or scooters, bicycles. You got to fix the potholes.
I have noticed that.
Have you noticed?
Yeah.
We pay very high taxes, and we deserve to make sure our money is going for our needs, and especially when it comes to public safety. I'm huge with that. I'm also pro-choice. I believe a woman has the right to choose. She should have freedom over her own reproductive health and health care. There is a proposition on the back of the ballot. It is the ERA proposition number 1, and I encourage folks to vote yes on that. That will ensure women will continue to have the right to choose. I gotta tell you, Ava, my daughter, who's 32, has less rights right now in this time than I had when I was her age. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think we're going backwards.
Yeah.
I also want to mention, as far as, women getting involved in politics. When I first was elected in 2011, before I got in, out of the 18 Suffolk County legislators, there were only 3 women. Wow. 3 out of 18. Now, Suffolk County has a 1.5 million population, and but we can do better. We need to encourage more women to get involved in the process. I worked with Kirsten Gillibrand. If you Google my name off the sidelines, Sarah Anker, you'll see a YouTube video that I had worked with Kirsten Gillibrand, our current federal senator. And she is also running. She's on the ballot, and I just spoke with her folks today. But there's a lot of important moving pieces right now, and a lot of it has to do with the first. Kamala Harris will be our first woman president. If elected, I will be the first woman New York State senator for this area.
Wow.
Ever. So there's a lot of work to do. I think I'm ready to get in there and pull up my sleeves and jump in the fire. But I feel I'm well protected because, again, the experience that I've had, the people that I know. The best compliment that I've gotten is when someone comes up to me and they say, "Look, Sarah, I'm a Republican. I've never voted for a Democrat in my entire life, but I voted for you." And it usually is because I help their family, I help their child. They know that I'm not about the whole political back and forth. It's a big waste of time, and it's frustrating people. Constituents, residents, they want to, they want their issues to be addressed, like in a realistic way. Yeah. And enough with the talk, oh yes, we're going to help you. No, my office, and I had great staff throughout my years as a legislator. As soon as someone would call or email, or if I would meet them at a meeting, we would take their issue and we would do something about it. And I would say, I can't guarantee I'm going to solve your problems, but I will try. So
yeah, definitely.
But as far as again, the difference between myself and Anthony Palumbo, again, I'm grassroots. I was part of the Mount Sinai Civic Association for years. If you haven't visited Mount Sinai, I encourage you to visit the North Shore Heritage Park. That is Suffolk County's first public-private partnership. It's a 13-acre parcel. It was supposed to be a Home Depot. Now look, I love Home Depot. I shop there. I'm a big gardener. But it was in the middle of our community. So just picture, East Hampton, if they were to build a Home Depot right in the middle of your community, it wasn't a good fit. Yeah. So, as a civic member, we rallied to get support, and we did. And we got Suffolk County to purchase the property, the town of Brookhaven to create the park, and the Heritage Trust to run the programs and to run the community center. And they also had purchased that area to buy the community center. So my take as far as how you get your community to be what you want it to be, you get involved. I mean, I'm sure you see it like with school programs, that you see the people, and it's usually like the same people that seem to be doing a lot of the work.
That is true.
But I want to encourage folks, though, look at those people and see how much fun they're having and see how they're motivated and be around those people because that energy kind of rubs off.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all good.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So living in East Hampton, a large part of our community is connected to farming. So what are your future plans regarding environmental protection and specifically farming?
So when I was in school, and this was in Central Florida, I was a member of the FFA, the Future Farmers of America. And it was very rural where I grew up. My friends had, cattle and, a lot of orange trees in Florida.
Yeah.
But they also had farms. As a legislator, I was on many of the committees dealing and addressing some of the issues with the farming community. I preserved over 2,000 acres of open space and farmland as a county legislator. And I want to do that as your New York State Senator.
Yeah.
Long Island has a $7 billion tourist industry, and a lot of the folks come in here, they spend their money, they keep our economy going, but they come to see the farms.
Yeah.
As I'm driving out here, you see the incredible farms, and the pumpkins are out now, and it's beautiful, and it's a great experience for people who have never been here, and they bring these great memories back, and they have great family experiences. So I'm hoping to make sure that we protect our farmland, we preserve our farmland, and work with the farmers. I worked with Al Krupski. He was a county legislator who's now the supervisor of Southold, and he's a pumpkin farmer. He's a farmer, but we worked together and we listened and we found out, what are some of the issues, with farmers and what's happening. And you guys are seeing this. A lot of the farms are being sold off and they're basically being built upon. Big developments, housing developments. And yes, we need housing, but we need affordable housing. We need, there's a certain type of housing we need. For you, when if you're going to go away to college and come back, if you're going to stay here locally, you need to have a place to stay. Right now, my two girls are at home because it's the average cost of a home. Out here, it's probably millions of dollars, but in Suffolk County, it's about $500,000 to $600,000. That is way too much money, and I want to take that issue and really pull it apart and try to figure out why did it get so expensive. And I think, and I'm going to say this, and I think a lot of the foreign countries, a lot of Wall Street folks, they found the investment in these small little properties to be good, because they see the return. And it's sort of like on the Monopoly board where you see the lower price homes, so you want to buy a whole bunch of those. And that's kind of what has happened. The people with money, they bought up all these homes, and now like young families can't start living here and raise their families. We're seeing school districts population go down dramatically, and that is because they can't afford to buy a home. So these are serious issues on a state level, and I'm looking forward to addressing that.
And additionally, East Hampton is also known as a small and creative community. So how would your policies support the growth of small businesses in areas like East Hampton?
Well, again, you have such a beautiful, unique rural character, and that's how I grew up. It was like 20 miles to get to the nearest grocery store. But it was a very strong community. What I've done as a legislator, I expedited the health permit process, and the reason why that's so important for small businesses is that you need these permits to expand your business. When I found out it was taking 7 years for a Dunkin' Donut that was I think it was Miller Place, to expand their business, and they were still waiting for the permit to go through, I worked with the Health Department, the Economic Development Department, to create and expedite the process, because what was happening is you never knew where the permit was or the paperwork was at any time. This now, you know where it is. There's a portal, you can check it, you can nudge whether it's the town or the county or the person applying for the permit. That was really important, and it wasn't hard to do. And these are, quick fixes that are really important. I created a small business website. It's a hub. And this came about when I was listening to some of the folks that have smaller businesses, and it was during COVID. And the large corporations were getting a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, but meanwhile, mom and pop shops, they weren't getting much support. So I said, there's got to be something more the county can do. So we created this hub, and it allows the small businesses to find and apply to grants that are available specifically for small businesses. And also working with Stony Brook University, they also have a special area over there. We connected, we partnered, working with the Chamber of Commerce's and also the civic associations to help those businesses stay in businesses. And we have to, again, look out for the taxing of these businesses. I was in the city and I was listening to an owner of a bookstore, and he goes, I can't afford, being here. We have to make it more affordable. And that is my number one issue running for office. Let's make Long Island more affordable again, because it's true. There was a time, people were able to live comfortably and not worry about expenses. That's not true now, and government needs to work for the people. That's how, that's my philosophy. And as a public servant working for people that I represent, I do want to do more, and I will do more. I've had a really successful record, and like I said, there's just so much more to accomplish.
Yeah. And you've mentioned affordability and housing affordability, so that is definitely a big issue on the East End. What have you achieved in this area as a county legislator, and how do you see the New York State Senate addressing this issue?
So affordability, again, you're talking about, taxes, food, electric, and especially housing. So I worked as a county legislator with Libby, Long Island Builders Institute, and Stony Brook University to address this issue of trying to create more affordable housing for young adults. And how I came to create the legislation to study this and to actually create a program was I was chair of the senior committee, so I was out with the seniors at Leisure Village, Leisure Knoll, some of the largest senior communities in Suffolk County, Leisure Glen, and they're all close to each other. And I noticed their quality of life was just lovely. They'd go outside, they'd visit with their friends, they had programs, they had affordable housing. It was beautiful. I want to do that with young adults. I want to make, $3,000 a month is not affordable. $2,000 a month is not affordable for rent. So I created an idea of, I call it PIACs, Planned Young Adult Communities, like a PRC, which is a Planned Retirement Community. But I came up against a wall because with federal legislation, you're not allowed to consider the age when it comes to housing unless you're 55 and over. Okay. It's a federal law. And I'm like, okay, we gotta work around that one. So I worked with Stony Brook, and we looked at placing housing, affordable, quality housing near transportation hubs, and that's called Transorient Development. Worked with the county exec and the different departments, and that's what we did. You have Ronkonkoma Hub, you have Wynant Rising. If you guys have been to Port Jefferson, you'll see, again, a lot of housing around train stations, and even in Patchogue. Those are some examples. We need to do more on a state level. We need to find a way to even create subsidies for young adults, because what's happening is these corporations and these companies, they can't find employees because there's nowhere for the employees to live. That's affordable. So can we create some type of pot of money that will be, supported by, companies, corporations, government, and help subsidize the living. So the young adult can pay off their college loan or pay off their car loan. We need to think out of the box on this one. And have always done that. I lean towards being very creative when I move forward with legislation, but I've been really successful, and we've been able to build a lot more housing, and with housing in mind too, though, it's called smart growth. So smart growth is where you build, densely populated, like within a place, and then you leave the open space around it. So you have the open space to recreate in, and also to help with the water, to clean the water, because you need that. You need the rain to go through the soil to clean the water, so you have fresh drinking water. But I want to do more of that on a state level. I worked, again, county, it was great. We got some more work to do on a state level.
And so my last question is, what do you hope to achieve as state legislator that speaks to the high school students of today?
Oh boy. Well, like I said at the beginning, I think it would be great if your friends and the students here understand that it's really your future that's at stake right now. You've got some heavy stuff happening. You've got climate change, right? And we're seeing it accelerate. I've got 3 children, in their 20s and 30s now. You guys are going to take over, and come on, get involved in campaigning, and I'm not saying what party, because that will be your choice. We live in a free country right now, and you have a choice you can make, and do what I did. If you're angry and frustrated, you see things aren't getting done, get involved, be part of the solution to solve that problem. Again, be around motivating people. And, most importantly, do it not for you, but for the people that are around you. And whether it's karma or, just the fact that you're networking with, really good people, it will come back. Good things will happen. And again, I just hope that the future, I know the future is bright. I know there's there's good things that are there for you, but you have to be part of that experience and that journey. So many of the younger kids are on the phone, using technology. Right here, especially in East Hampton, look out the window. You've got some gorgeous landscapes, whether it's, the farming community, you've got beautiful water. I grew up in Florida, being around water. And then just enjoy your life, again, with family and friends, because it really will make a difference in your life. Stress is tough. And I've worked on a lot of legislation for both addiction, and you guys got it tough. The opioid crisis, I chaired the advisory panel for the county. We need to do more on that. The nicotine addiction and the vaping. I mean, so many young kids are ending up in the hospital because they're addicted. Cannabis, this stuff is not the same type of chemical composition 30 years ago, or 40 years ago. It's pretty intense stuff. So, I can go on energy drinks. Oh goodness, there's so many things that you guys have to navigate around, but you can do it. You can do it, and you got to give yourself credit. You guys are so smart. This is one of the smartest generations, and let's hope each generation becomes smarter and smarter. But I'm a big environmental person, and in fact, I wrote a book, Below the Ocean: Keeping Our Sea Friends Safe, and it's about it's a children's book. And, it's about understanding that what you do absolutely impacts our environment. I created legislation making it illegal to intentionally release balloons, helium balloons, because what happens with balloons when you release 100 balloons during your high school graduation, they go up and then they go into our ocean. And the turtles, the seals, the birds, all sea life, they're affected and they're impacted. We have some of the highest levels of plastics and microplastics, in our oceans. And, I know the sad news is that they're in us too. We're finding it. So protect, your environment, and your environment will protect you. And my mother, taught me that. And, it's always good to make sure that we pass this to the next generation. But even parents can learn from kids. You know, my kids will, Mom, you got to recycle that bottle. Oh, you're right. Let's put it in the recycling bin. So don't be afraid. You know, don't be afraid to step up. And give good good advice. You know, well-intentioned advice. If people don't want to listen, well, that's their problem. But at least you tried. It's sort of like the bullying, and I worked a lot on bullying issues. And just remember, kids, is that, you know, young bullies grow up to be old bullies. So, you know, if you can try to work this bullying situation out, I actually created a website. A couple of kids committed suicide because they were being bullied, you know, right here in Suffolk County. And we have SuffolkStopBullying.org, and it gives a list of the Dignity Act coordinators, DAC folks, and those are the folks in every single school district in New York State. And that person's main job is to make sure that there's no discrimination, that if there's bullying, if these issues are there, then they're there to address it. So there's a lot more to talk about, but I know things are starting to wind down. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, going back to your environmental protection, even today I had a classmate who's working on looking at microplastics in mussels, and I was so surprised at looking at her samples how many microplastics there were. So it's definitely an important issue.
Yeah, there's tens of thousands of chemicals in our world, and we as a society have never really regulated those chemicals because of, can you guess what the word is? Money. Money and greed. And, you know, look, you know, there's only so much money that you need to be happy, you know, and it's all up to different people. But, you know, I know unhappy rich people. I know unhappy people that don't have wealth. But, you know, if you think about the other people around you versus yourself, and trying to help those people, it will make you feel better. You know, it's a great experience. So, and that's really what I want to do, you know, and as a New York State Senator, and again, helping with government, getting government on the right track, because again, you know, the clean water, affordability, mental health, preserving our farmlands and open space, there's so much to do, and I'm ready just to jump in and get things done.
Yeah, so that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, once again, I am Ava Tintle here on behalf of the LTV Community Intern Project. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.